Well, I was going to try to resist temptation when working on the Little Indian just because I got so much going on. The house is under construction right now in the kitchen. But, you know, I just really wanted to get into it. One thing I want to do is get the rust out of the gas tank if I can by soaking it in vinegar. And taking off the gas tank is a bit of a task, so I'm going to actually pull the engine off and try to get it off that way, because one of the screws, that one in the back, is just kind of stripped out and it's just sitting there. And getting the carb off isn't all that easy either. So, engine is off, and here's a better look at the engine mounting plate. It does look like there's another piece of metal back here. I don't know if the whole thing has been replaced or what, because I'm not familiar. But it's also a good look at the scrub brake. Looking at like that side, I mean, it looks like it's put on pretty clean. Somebody on Old Mini Bike said that it looks like it might be from Bird, the mini bike company Bird, as well as that back wheel, which I found out is all nice and wobbly, so that's not going to work out no matter what. Not that I wanted it to. And I mean, the brake works good for a 5-inch, but will it work good for a 4-inch? I don't know. So I'm kind of up in the air. Do I cut that thing off? Because we have the brackets here for the disc brake. The cable holder too is right there, and they're intact. Somebody would probably say take out that engine plate and put in the right one, but you know, I don't have one. I don't know where to get one. I don't even know what it looks like. So anyway, I got the engine off. I'm going to see if I can get that gas tank off, and so I can soak it. So here's a better look at the engine on the bench. And that's a screw I'm having a hard time with now. The gas tank is also like, I put my hand underneath it, it doesn't feel very solid, and I noticed somebody put a blob of putty on it too. So of course it would be best to get a new gas tank. But, you know, I'm also thinking, like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to use this engine, because it's 80 something, 84 or something like that. I'd rather get something age appropriate for it, or funky, or better yet, I got 2 Honda engines I could put on it. So I'm not sure, but still I'd like to fix this anyway, because I know the engine runs. We'll take off, if we can get the gas tank off, we're going to soak it in vinegar, and it'll probably eat right through the bottom is my guess, but what the heck. Well, it's just getting more and more rounded out. I can't get vice grips in there. I was thinking of taking a file and making a slit across it, but the file won't move but, you know, a tiny bit. So I'm thinking of using the multi-tool with this edge and trying to cut a slot in the screw head and see if I can get it out that way. I'll turn it back on when I show you my results. Well, that was rather violent. Jumped off and hit the gas tank and put a hole through it, but I messed up the spring a little bit, but it looks like we got a good slot, so I'm going to see if I can get the screwdriver in there and crank it out. Talk about getting in tight. I'm using some of my guitar files, which I hate getting greasy, but like this is as far as you can move this thing, like tiny increments at a time. But that back edge, that tool, that other multi-tool could not get in there. This is getting in there a little bit. But another thing is that I kind of clean the paint off around here so that the penetrating oil can get in there, maybe, hopefully a little bit. So it's kind of soaking while I'm doing this. A terrible place for a screw that won't come out. Yeah, I've gotten it to go back and forth a little bit. So it's loosening up. I also opened up the cap and took a toothbrush and put some oil on it and got it all over there, some penetrating PB Blaster, etc. So, if you can get a look at it there, it'll move about Yeah, about 1/8 of a turn. So I think letting it soak actually kind of helps a little bit. And I filed out the groove leg a little bit more. We'll get it. It's just going to take some time. Okay, I did what I probably should have done in the first place. Let's just drill it out. I don't know, I kind of wanted to save it, and I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't have much to grab onto with vice grips. But there's actually quite a bit there. Hey, listen to that. Maraca. That's probably all it's going to be good for. I'm going to try to get that out and then get the junk out of the tank. And as I was shaking the tank, I noticed the bottom. Holy smokes. I couldn't see that from where I was before because I'm not a grasshopper looking up. So, kind of looks like we need a new gas tank. But, you know, I probably could get the junk out of here, and I use something called red coat, which is kind of like cream to line tanks. And it actually adheres to rust pretty damn good. Although, you know, the way I've usually done tanks is get all the rust out, then use a red coat. But unless I can come across one of these tanks, which would be nice. Even a larger capacity, maybe one. Okay. While I'm trying to clean that gas tank out, I'm going to make a Road King style gas tank, which is pretty cool. I have this artichoke hearts. I never remember eating those. Small glass jar, and I'm going to put it bolted up underneath here and then have a clear gas tank. Holds a little bit of gas, so it'll be able to run this engine, but I just got to figure out where the holes are going to go. And that looks about right, so it's not too close to the muffler where that black dot is. And I can also get these two screws in. We'll probably bolt it up from the bottom. Don't know. It'll work, I think, at least temporarily. Hopefully not leak. Do it. Okay, let's put a little gas in the jar. And we screw it into the jar lid. Yeah, watch that fall off and start a spectacular fire. Okay. Don't really have a way to shut it off. Little Brick and Stratton, I love them. I'm going to get it warm enough and drain the old oil out of it. Oh, look at it. Turning around all by itself. I got some clean oil in it. Seems to be running pretty good. That's without a carb cleaning or anything. We're gonna, I think, paint it up. I don't know, might use it for the Lil Indian for now. Okay, I've red coated the gas tank, just getting the excess out of it. Looks like it did a really good job. Oh, wait a minute. It kind of hardened. I left it like that to drain out. So we'll just cut that piece off, and it looks like it did a really good job. That tank should be totally sealed. It's a great product. So certainly usable. I ended up using about, oh, this is a yogurt cup, about like that much. About a third of this cup, which is, what, 8 ounces? 5.3 ounces. So, I don't know, 2 ounces or so. The tank is certainly heavier, but I think it's sealed. I'm confident in using it. Kind of hard to see in there, but ain't pretty, but it's sealed. Okay, well, it's time to start thinking about the Lil Indian again. Stripped it down, get a better look at the engine plate. Someone said that Marcus said that might not be a stock plate or heavily modified or something. It does in fact kind of look like that, like there's an extension on the back of it there. And I'm thinking of what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm certainly going to strip it and paint it, but there are several things I got to do. I think everyone's voting to get rid of the scrub brake. That's pretty easy. So I guess what I'd do is cut it off here and file it and try to make it look a little bit nicer. Cut this thing off. And the same on the other side. And then it will be gone, and I could go with a clutch brake or something like that. Now another thing I noticed is if you look down, I don't know if you can see this, you can see the front end's a little bit tweaked. I'm not quite sure how to go about straightening that out. I'll just say the heck with it, excuse me, and leave it. Also, these foot peg covers, I don't know, is this original? They look just like bicycle grips. Suppose I can get them off, probably slide a thin screwdriver underneath and some oil or something and get them off. Are they original? Don't know. They're slightly bent too, but it's barely noticeable, so I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. I don't think this is exactly going to be a pristine job in the restoration, but I think it'll look good. Next we have a better look at the seat, and I think this is kind of a homemade job. I don't really think it's a Lil Indian. Those two are metric bolts, and they are threaded in with inserts stuck in there, and it's not exactly even. It looks like a whole junk piece of plywood and they just threw a cover on it, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was a damaged original seat that had to be fixed. Looks like it was gold. And here's 2 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. Mid-80s, I guess, is what we figured it out to be. Runs great. I cleaned up the gas tank. Actually, I put some red coat sealer in the gas tank, so it will now hold gas, but I could use that little glass guy I stuck on there. Starts first pull. But I want to paint it, and I want to put old decals on it if I can, but I'm looking for a white that was period correct for an old, like, 60s Briggs & Stratton white. So if anybody has any idea, let me know. And next, the wheels. This was the rear wheel, obviously. Don't know if I can reuse that sprocket. Doesn't look too bad. I don't know if the bolt pattern's right. The axles are 5/8. Those might be original axles. I hope so. There's also a spacer bushing on it. One on each side. This is a 5-inch tire. I didn't just say that. And this is what was on the front. It's a 4-inch, similar, but not right. And kind of has bogus. It has no bearings in it. Just these spacers on it. So probably gonna have to get some kind of bushing spacers. And once again, a 5/8 axle. It appears correct. Oh wait, this side actually has a bearing. Wow, okay. So any advice is appreciated, thanks.